Will you pray with me? We gather here, O Lord, to celebrate your name, to listen for your word, to sing you praises, to be in a spirit of thanksgiving. Bless this time, bless this moment. Give us ears to hear, and move through us with your spirit. That on this day you might hear your voice talking to us. We pray in your Son's name. Amen. In many ways, Thanksgiving has become a forgotten holiday in our culture, lost between the candy rush of Halloween and the desire of many to skip forward to Christmas. As one person I saw this year put it, if you want to see Christmas come, just make sure the store is at 12:01 a.m. on November 1st. Thanksgiving has been buried beneath the craziness that is Black Friday, even becoming Black Friday weekend with Thanksgiving opening for many stores. And if I may, it's even been lost a bit in a society that isn't always good at counting the blessings they have and the rush to always get to the next big thing. This is unfortunate. Because while Thanksgiving is not my favorite holiday, hint, there are no oodles of Thanksgiving carols to make the imagination of this music lover run wild, in case you want to know what it is. I have always appreciated Thanksgiving's importance. It's a moment or a day or at least an afternoon to pause, to sit, to reflect, to be still, and to ponder the many blessings that we have. That kind of pause is the reason behind Thanksgiving, not the turkey, not the family, not even the football game that my family is sure to watch Thursday afternoon. It's the pause to remember. And it's a pause that is very, very biblical. This morning, our epistle is from Philippians, where Paul says these words, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice." He's very clear. It's an exhortation for joy, for thanksgiving, for singing praise to our Creator, and one that is meant to be for always, in every moment, no matter what. And I have to admit that there is a part of me that wonders if such an exhortation is realistic. I wonder if it ignores certain realities about human life. After all, not every moment that we live is easy to rejoice in. But some are. There's the laughter of children, the beauty of nature, and the gift of our families. This morning I'm rejoicing in you all as a congregation. I was off Friday, and when I came into the building late Friday night to do some printing and to grab some things, I discovered that our Thanksgiving baskets had been filled in what seemed like just a day. And this morning, I came in and they were filled yet even more, almost doubling from the pretty full on Friday to the overflowing that is out there now. I rejoice in you all and your response to those baskets now in our third year. I rejoice in the response that so many of you have made in our pledge drive this year. As we'll see in our budget meeting, pledges are up, as all of us have prayerfully thought about how we can support the work of this congregation. And goodness gracious, my people, you have responded in ways that are amazing and almost beyond my comprehension. I rejoice in the politics and the conversations I've heard in this place these past few months. Conversations that seriously considered the issues facing our nation without ever demonizing the other side, which happened far too rarely in this past election cycle. I rejoice because in spite of the challenges that we have and will keep facing as a congregation, we have together kept striving for faithfulness to our calling as individuals and as a church each and every day. I don't know what you're rejoicing in this morning, but that's mine. Of course, sometimes it's hard to rejoice. Times of sorrow or grief, times of depression and pain, times when we lose someone or watch them fade slowly away. Times when our hearts are breaking or perhaps are already smashed in two. Does Paul's exhortation to rejoice in the Lord always expect us to rejoice in these moments too? Well, yes. But allow me one small caveat. You see, at least in my opinion, rejoicing is not the same as being happy. Paul is not saying, be happy and cheerful in the Lord always, because that would be unrealistic. That would be a complete misread of the human condition. That would be puppy dogs and rainbows, an unrealistic church making an unrealistic call to people who could never live up to it. But Paul calls us not to be happy, but to rejoice, even in the sorrowful times. And that rejoicing might be as simple, really, as remembering that God is with us, even in the midst of those hard times. Or allowing ourselves to be comforted by friends and family. That rejoicing might just be resting and leaning on God's peace that passes understanding. Trusting in our Creator, even when our hearts are broken. These are ways I believe we can rejoice in the Lord always, and in some moments, they're the best that we can do. And in some moments, living into them shows the best of us, period. We rejoice in the Lord always, not by being bright and cheerful and happy, but by being able to rest in our God in good times and bad, and know that God is with us. Allow me to share two examples that I hope demonstrate what I mean by this. In just a short while, we will celebrate Totenfest. And for me, this is a moment of celebration and remembrance, and yes, of rejoicing, as I shared with the children, with the youth, really. We rejoice in this moment with the lives that have touched us and the ways we have been blessed to touch those in our lives. We rejoice in the love that we have shared with those that we will name, a love that I believe is stronger than death. We celebrate the gift of new life that they are already experiencing, a presence with God in ways beyond our human imagination. And we rejoice. But these candles are not a happy moment. We're not going to be applauding and laughing. Many of us, perhaps even the pastor, will be fighting tears. We will celebrate and remember, and we will cry. And that will be a form of rejoicing. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. The second example I learned from the book that Mary Jane loaned me this past week. It still tells the story of the Pilgrims, the first Congregationalists, if you will, very much our denominationally spiritual ancestors claim them, good and bad. The book tells of their voyage of the Mayflower Compact and about the very first Thanksgiving. But it doesn't stop there. It keeps going to tell about the second Thanksgiving. To be blunt, that Thanksgiving feast was not quite as hearty as the first one. For a variety of reasons, drought, more people, the rigors of living far from what they would have called civilization, though the American Indians would have disagreed about that particular phrase, what is or is or not civilization. All this had left them with very meager rations for the hard, cold winter that was to come. Desperate to ensure the community's survival, to not face the starving times of the previous few winters, the Pilgrims instituted rations. And in fact, the legend says that they each received on their Thanksgiving feast plate 5 kernels of corn. 5. Happy Thanksgiving. Now this is probably, like so much of the stories we tell about the Pilgrims, just that, a legend. An exaggeration to make a point. But the rationing was real. And the story reminds us about something else that was true about those early settlers. They had an indomitable spirit and an ability to rejoice even when things were hard. The Pilgrims were not perfect. None of us are. But they had a trust in God that we should aspire to. And they knew how to rejoice in all things. Even a feast that featured just 5 kernels of corn on each plate. So this morning I want to invite you to find your own ways of rejoicing in the Lord always, and to help us to take just a bit of time to pause to give thanks to God this Thanksgiving. I have, or really the youth have a gift for all of you. Our youth this morning in their Sunday school took time to prepare bags for us. Bags with 5 kernels of corn. And we use the real kind, not the legendary kind. I hope that you will accept this bag as a gift from our youth and from our church leadership. Mary Jane and Janet brought many of the supplies for this project. And open them this Thursday as you celebrate Thanksgiving. Take out the kernels of corn, one by one. And as you do, remember at least one thing you are thankful for, and then say a prayer of thanks to God. Because whether in good times and bad, we are invited always to give thanks to the Lord by songs, by prayers, by kernels of corn. Again, I say, rejoice and happy Thanksgiving.